After the release of the groundbreaking East Coast album that is Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers by the Wu-Tang Clan, the clan would then temporarily split up and be signed to individual record labels. They would then put out their own solo albums that would be a landmark in the hip-hop universe in itself. RZA not immediately, because he did Gravediggers first before he did the Bobby Digital album. Each with their own unique sets of styles, flows, atmospheres, and thematics. We have Method Man with Tikal, we have Raekwon with Only Built for Cuban Links, we have GZA with Liquid Swords, and we have Ghostface with Iron Man. In between Method Man's Tikal and Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links, the most absurd, energetic, and weird of the Wu-Tang Clan would release his very own solo albums. I am talking about Old Dirty Bastard, aka ODB, aka Ason Unique, aka Dirt McGrit. And that album would then shake hip-hop normality at its core. This was, of course, none other than Return to the 36 Chambers, released in March 28, 1995 on Elektra Records. And as of last week, on March 28th of 2020, it celebrated its 25th anniversary. And ODB is a unique MC within the Wu-Tang Clan, hell, even the whole entirety of the hip-hop universe. Characterized by his off-key singings, amazing cadence manipulations, and his overall charismatic theatrics. All of this equaling to be one of the most unique, creative MC in hip-hop, period. His mission from the start was to be different and unique to his own standards. The cover of the album alone is a sort of symbol of his creativity. Brett Kilroy, I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Brett. The artist who did the album cover even said this in an interview with Complex. No one at the time had ever thought to put such a personal item of theirs on the cover. Sure, we had seen family pics of artists and pics of them as children, but to use your public assistance card was a glimpse of creative brilliance. Within the first waves of Wu-Tang solo albums, RZA would be the one who's in charge of production in the majority of the tracks. And in typical Wu-Tang fashion, kung fu movie samples are laced throughout their tracks, and this album is no different. Taking dialogues from the 36th Chambers of Shaolin, Fearless Dragons, and the 5 Deadly Venoms. And I want to give credit where credit is due, because from 1994 up until 1996, RZA was the one who produced the majority of the album, like I mentioned before. But what's so cool about it is each of these 5 solo albums, 5 Wu-Tang solo albums, are different in sound. RZA specifically catered each of these albums to the MCs that he's currently working with at the time, having their own sort of atmospheric flair that matches the MC's persona. And in Return to the 36 Chambers, there's a certain feel of a more groovier and bass-heavy instrumental and production that is all throughout this album. RZA, as per usual, is using soul and R&B samples from artists such as Sugar Hill Gang, Stevie Wonder, James Brown, and Otis Redding, and amongst many others. But with that said, it is still ODB's absurd charisma that is the highlight of this entire album. What he makes up in wordplay, in my opinion, when compared to the more heavy-hitting lyricists of the Wu-Tang Clan, such as GZA, RZA, or Ghostface, he makes up with insane energy and originality and, again, absurdity. And it's with this insanity that rap artists down the line, such as JPEG Mafia and even Kendrick Lamar, take ODB as an inspiration and Return to the 36 Chambers as an inspiration for their work. The mumbling and sort of intoxicated delivery of ODB playing an announcer named Russell Jones, which funny enough is actually ODB's real government name, and him walking into stage drunk, telling the people that he has gotten gonorrhea for the second time from a woman, crying and drunk and sort of out of his mind, sort of sets the tone for this entire album. And yes, that's what he actually said. And to everyone's surprise, or maybe not surprise, he's actually trolling us after all this time. Again, setting the tone for the whole entire album. Shimmy Shimmya is easily his most famous song. The repetitive but yet groovy piano and boom bap beats act as a simple platform for ODB to pummel through with his insane absurdity. And it's in here where his unique delivery really shines. I mean, take for instance the hook where he prolonged the raw. I can't do it, I'm sorry, I just can't. With his unique cadence. And speaking of his cheeky innuendo delivered with a sort of hyperbolic comedy that he's very known for, is sort of one of the main themes of the album that is very prevalent throughout the whole track list. And that's immature sensual humor. The intro track, Don't You Know, Drunk Game, parts of Shimmy Shimmy Ya, and parts of Baby Come On, amongst many others, is where ODB uses his immature sensual humor to its finest degree of comedy. And nowhere is that immature, hormonal, sensual humor is portrayed in the most comedic yet disturbing manner than in the track Don't You Know with Killer Priest. Even in the girls sort of know how rough and rugged and disproportionate ODB looks, but they still have a thing for him. And I think that's sort of setting the tone of his immature and ugly sensual humor. This track is a bit creepy and uneasy, if I'm honest with you. ODB and Killer Priest really done a fantastic job portraying a very hormonal, sexual-minded high school student who just wants to get laid with a girl. But I have to say what's so ingenious about ODB is that not only he can make these immature, sensual humor to be funny, a bit hyperbolic, but to be funny, but he can also make self-deprecating sensual humor about himself that is equally funny as well, so balancing out the two. I mean, in the song, he even says, "Oh, I begged, easy on my balls, they're fragile as eggs." Yep. On Drunk Game, Reza did a great job on switching up to a more sensual, slow, more than average groovier beat to matches the sensual and sort of downplay isms that ODB is portraying. And Drunk Card ODB, again, is delivering to you guys his sexual desires. And it kind of shows how lustful he is, I guess, in a good way, but very funny at the same time, because you could clearly tell that the way he's holding the microphone is very close to his mouth, and you can hear him like breathe through it and making noise to it. Not moaning. Well, he is actually moaning in the song, but it really shows how sort of creative and versatile on how to deliver humor and character to a song. But I would say this is not the highlight of the album, because it is very weird and a very spotty moment on the album, if I were to be honest. But it's still a note of creativity of ODB's versatility and cadence. And I kind of want to add this line just for laughs on Baby Come On. "You be hopping on my shit just like a fly." Yep. Love ODB. Brooklyn Zoo is the first lead single of the album. Although Shimmy Shimmy Ya is the biggest and the most popular single in Return to the 36 Chambers, hell, even his entire discography, I think Brooklyn Zoo's free-flowing, relentless delivery by ODB is kind of a testament to how crazy, in the sense of battle rap aesthetics, that he is, and it's regarded as, to quote Genius, the B-boy's favorite. And even with the documentary that RZA did with Amazon Prime, this was a staple in sort of Brooklyn clubs. And to repeat myself, in this relentless, free-flowing, and absurd delivery that we get into one of the other main thematics of what makes Return to the 36 Chamber so great, and that is raw ODB braggadocio. This is where ODB shines through and through, in my opinion, and this is where ODB, to me, is regarded one of the most creative, unique MCs of all time. It's in this instance, I think, he uses his versatility of vocal manipulation, cadence, energy to its finest degree. His shouts, his yells, his onomatopoeia utilizations is absolutely creative and insane. He really portrays a crazy street rapper that just wants to battle you for fun, regardless of him might potentially just like murdering your career in the end. But it's also to note that it's in this instance that most of the features from the Wu-Tang Clan and more of posse cuts starting to show up in the track list, which means he has competition to beat out. For instance, on the track Rawhide featuring Raekwon and Method Man, Method Man did a great groovy hook to combat sort of ODB's absurd energy. All three of them came in full force with their own flavors and potent lyricism. ODB says, "Yeah, gotta come back to attack, killing brothers who said they got stacks, cause I don't give a fuck. I want to see blood, whether it's period blood or bust in your fucking face some blood. See, sort of the raw DB braggadocio and the sensual humor kind of mixing all together. Method Man says, how could he know what the fuck he never knew? God cipher divine, come to show and come to prove. A mystery God, that's the work of Yakub. The Holy Ghost got you scared to the death, kid, boo. And Raekwon says, now eat my shit, bitch tried to creep and got hit, now regulate and I'll be out to set up a date. Wu-Tang is banging like a Ron G tape. Damage featuring Jizza is easily one of my favorite tracks of the whole entire album. I love the fact that these two finish each other's lines back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for 3 minutes straight. It's as if they've fused together to a two-headed a la King Ghidorah sort of rap MC monster that is out there to demolish people. Should have stepped to those fucking kids who tried to beat you. Yeah, bust that ass before. You ran to Texas and came back but forgot the chainsaw. I teach the truth to the youth. I say, youth, here's the truth. Better start wearing bulletproof. Arm yourself with a shield, for you get trapped up just like the children in the cornfield. And I want to talk about Going Down because of that intro. It's a great, absurd, creative, out-of-the-box intro that I think to this day and in the foreseeable future will be one of the greatest hip-hop intros of all time. And his cadence shift in this song is, I think, one of the best in the whole entire track list. The fact that he could switch up to that very high-pitched but sort of low register voice like Q-Tip, and he could skyrocket to that energetic ODB is quite something in regards to his vocal ranges. Let's talk about one of my favorite stories of this album. The fact that ODB got his wife, whilst they were arguing, to go into the booth and record their argument is absurd, as per ODB. Creative in some ways, but the icing on the cake is the fact that ODB sort of replied with singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. ODB loves his family, but this was very weird. It's very ignorant in a sense, but then I wouldn't expect something less from ODB. And this was just a moment of great comedy and great absurdity. And Protect Your Neck Part 2, The Zoo, is easily one of the most energetic posse cuts I've ever heard in any hip-hop album. And I'm going to read the feature list here because I don't remember it from the top of my head. Apologies for that. There's Brooklyn Zoo, Prodigal Son, Killer Priest, and the 60-Second Assassin. Everyone here came out guns blazing. Sorry, this is a Wu-Tang album. Everyone came out with their swords drawn and ready to kill each other in a lyrical slaughter and just one-upping up each other, not only in lyricism but in energy as well. I have this theory that they are all trying to match ODB's energy. That's why they all sound so rough, rugged, raw, and in your face, and their sort of versatility and cadence is just out of this world. The relentless energy from the MCs, God, I love it so much. It really portrays this like true animalistic nature that these MCs have when they come together on a track to battle out each other. So in regards to this album's impact at the time and up until now, no one really knew that you could be weird, absurd, and this out of the box and still make it, at least in the mainstream. ODB and his two albums really pushed the boundaries of creativity in the mainstream hip-hop. And the fact that he is sending a message that you could be successful and be this absurd and be this creative and be this out of the box. I mean, think about it. Between 1994 and 1995, no album really sounded like this, especially on the MC side. I mean, we have Biggie, Ready to Die. We have Nas with Illmatic. We have Gangstar with Hard to Earn. We had E40 in a major way, though he did a bit of cadence manipulation, but not to this energetic and absurd extent. We have Tupac with Me Against the World, and we have Outkast with Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music. I'm not saying these albums were bad, and I'm not saying these albums were lacking at all. In fact, in 1995, GZA's Liquid Swords came out, and that's actually my favorite Wu-Tang solo album, if not one of my favorite albums in hip-hop of all time. I'm just saying that amongst the album that I just mentioned, none stuck out like a sore thumb more than Return to the 36 Chambers because of the geniusness of ODB. So it's no wonder that people, MCs, till this day is still using ODB and Return to the 36 Chambers as a point of reference for originality, creativity, out-of-the-box thinking in regards to hip-hop. But I think what's so amazing about this album is it's the first album that was released by a creative individual. But more than that, it's an album that proves to the hip-hop genre that boundaries can be pushed and creativity can be pushed to its further extent. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I really had a blast doing this video, to be honest, because it was interesting just doing research about this album and how people reacted to it and sort of the impact it had. When I first gotten into Wu-Tang, I do remember ODB being like, who's that dude? He sounds very insane. He sounds very original. He doesn't sound like any of these any of the other Wu-Tang Clan people, and let alone any other of the MCs out at the time and till now. So thank you for watching, and I hope I can make more of these sort of content, because I do think there's development or like growth to be had in this sort of area of just like looking back on past albums that are my favorites and whatnot. I know that for a fact Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links is about to turn 25. Yeah, about to turn 25 August. And Jizza's Liquid Swords is about to turn 25 this November as well. So hopefully there'll be a period where I can re-listen and study a bit more about the two albums. But other than that, thank you for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you guys again on What the Robot Thinks. Peace.